Hey everyone, my name is Hayden and welcome to my channel. In this video I want to talk about how you should behave and things you can do during the interview process in order to land your next software engineering job. So in this video I want to talk about being in the interview process and what recommendations I would make for you. Firstly, we're going to kind of cover, keeping on track of your interviews. I use Notion to kind of basically for my life, all my notes go into it, and I have an interview section and page on that, and I can share that with you guys, and it just helps me organize, coding interview on this day, telephone interview on that day, recruiters for jobs and for job applications. It's a really useful way to kind of see everything at once. I also want to talk about the kind of mental health side of interviewing. It becomes very stressful at times, and just some things that you can do in order to battle that. I'm not saying I'm an expert in that area, but this is just stuff that I've found useful to do. Finally, keeping a healthy lifestyle for you as well, so that you can essentially be the most optimal person you can be for when you are interviewing. Because remember, that's what companies are looking for. They're looking for the ideal candidate, and you need to be in the ideal frame of mind and health state in order to portray the best version of yourself. So firstly, what I want to talk about is being organized during the interview process. I use an app called Notion to pretty much organize my entire life, from shopping lists, birthdays, notes, my YouTube channel kind of stuff that I've got, even engineering projects I do on the side. I use Notion. It's an incredible app, really good. I'm not sponsored, wish I was. And I have a dedicated page in Notion that I have for kind of job applications and the status they're in, what companies I've applied for, and the recruiters that relate to all those job applications. I will share a link down below if you want to use that template. I can share that with you, and if there's enough interest in that, I can also make an extra video on how to use that Notion page as well. So basically, I use Notion as a one area to keep track of everything that's going on, so that when I have calls with recruiters and they go, like, what's the status of this application, I can quickly go to that page and see it. It also makes sure, like, mentally for me, I can just dump all the information into that page and it's in one place, and I don't need to look elsewhere. I don't need to look at emails. It's all in one place. That's the second thing I would also say is, stay on top of emails, stay on top of phone calls, stay on top of text or any kind of messages you get from recruiters, because the quicker you can respond to them, if they're not even recruiters but from companies, the quicker you can respond to them, the quicker you can get into the interview process, which means the quicker you land a job. And it literally can sometimes be the difference of, if you have two candidates, one who takes a week to reply to everything and one who takes a day, they both contact you, you set up an interview for next week, they've not even replied to that message yet. And by the time, you finish the interview process and got to the final interview, they're only on the coding test. And it's like, well, just reply quicker and you can get through the process quicker and be hired quicker. So the second point I want to touch on is kind of your mental health during the entire interview process. Disclaimer, I'm not an expert on mental health. I didn't know if I want to keep the mental health part in the video because I didn't feel qualified enough to talk about it, but I think I should, just because, I would like to educate myself more, and I think talking about it, having discussions about it is a healthy thing to do. So that's why I'm going to kind of keep it in, because the more we talk about stuff like this and we can learn from each other, the better it is overall. What I do want to say is, when you do get rejected from an interview, do not take it as a personal thing. Just take it as a thing related to your experience and the stuff you've worked on. They're not saying, no, you personally are bad. They're saying, the experience you've had up to this point is not what we're looking for right now. Another candidate is out there. There's probably going to be hundreds and thousands of candidates applying for the same role you're applying, and the chances of you even landing that job are slim because there's so many other candidates. So just know that, it will take some time. It will be, when you get a rejection from a job, it is gutting, but you need to just kind of pick yourself up and go, okay, fine, there'll be another one. There'll be another job out there. I'll move on. There'll be something else. So, try to stay as positive as you can. What I often find is that people want the stuff here and now. So they want to land the best job here and now, and they don't kind of really grasp that, throughout your career, you're slowly building yourself up, to become this more experienced ultimate programmer person. So, let's say your dream company's up here, you're aspiring to work for them. You need to remember that they're not going to hire you just because you like them. You need to have the right experience for them to hire you. and you know, you need to go out and find that experience and acquire that kind of knowledge so that when you go into that interview process, you're in a better position. You want to go in with the, you know, the skills and the experience that you can go, you know, I bring all this, you know, extra value to you that makes me worthwhile for you. So that's kind of just to keep your mental state in the thing that, you know, your career is a long process and it might not come here and now, but it could come next year or the year after that, or in 5 years time or 10 years time. So the next one I want to cover is the coding tests. These come up in all interviews. Coding tests, take home tests. You just need to kind of suck this one up. They're going to happen. They're going to test you. You can't land a programming job without actually being tested of how to program. Some people may have, but the likelihood is that you're probably going to have to prove that you can program at some point. They are tough. They are difficult. Some companies look for different things. Just understand that you can practice them. I did my last video. I talked about LeetCode and Pramp and kind of websites like that you can use to upskill yourself. Just understand, you know, it's just a time thing. You know, you have to invest time into getting better. You know, a LeetCode a day keeps unemployment away is like motto to follow. Yeah, they're tough. You are going to fail some, but you know, just know that you've learned from that one in the future, and the next time you see it, you know, you'll be better at it. So the kind of good thing about coding tests is they're pass fail. You know, if you solve the problem well, you're through to the next stage. If you fail, you've not gone through to the next stage. There's no objection here, so they're a nice way to just kind of be like, right, yeah, I did good, I did bad. They're essentially a quick feedback loop. So the next point I want to cover is the face-to-face interviews. This means you've kind of got through the initial stage of the interview process and you're now kind of speaking face-to-face. This could be a final round interview or some kind of, it's normally a latter stage in the process that when you get a face-to-face interview. The interviewer is going to ask you more kind of personal questions about your background and experience here, so make sure you have like solid examples and a good comeback to any question they ask you about stuff like that. The entire basically face-to-face interview is totally under your control. Quite simple. You know they're going to ask you questions and you have to portray that you know enough about what's going on. So a lot of that process is under your control, and it's just a matter of you kind of upskilling yourself to be best representation of yourself so that you can portray that to them and they can like you also. Something that I think is quite important to kind of keep in mind and helps me a lot is that you are not your work and your work is not you. So what do I mean by this? I'm basically saying that, you know, just because you did it in the past doesn't mean that you should hold yourself to that standard, because you're always improving, you're always getting better. And sometimes in interviews, you know, you can apply for a company or get rejected, or, you know, you go for an interview and the interviewer's like, no, you know, we need someone better at this and that. And you can either go down two routes here. You can either go, oh yeah, that is me and they've nailed it and, you know, I am not very good. Or you can go, okay, yeah, fine, you know, you commented on that, thank you very much for the feedback. I'm going to develop myself and better myself in that area. And then when I come back in a couple months time to a year, you know, I will be better and I will be able to answer that question. And you know, you need to just kind of constantly get in that mindset of improving, becoming better, and understanding that just because you failed one interview doesn't mean you're going to fail the next, and just because you landed one interview doesn't mean you're going to land the next. You know, there's so many variables that can happen during the interview process that you just need to keep a very, I want to say, optimistic and also kind of always striving for better things kind of mentality. Also, one thing I think is important to note is that, you know, the interviewer is only meeting you for 30 minutes to an hour, and you have to basically portray your entire life's experience up until that, well, your entire working's life's experience up until that point to them. And that is a really hard thing to do, and I don't think we give as much I guess emphasis on this in the, like, normally in the interview process people are like, oh yeah, just tell them about yourself, and it's like, that's actually quite hard, because you've done all this education or you've done what you've done in the past and you've got all this experience, and now you've got to tell them in 30 minutes why you're so amazing. And it's kind of a very hard thing to squash that down and portray that to someone, and also not to like come across as sounding like big-headed or narcissistic or something like this. Yeah, so again, I don't want this to come across as sounding doom and gloomy, don't want to come across as this sounding negative. Interviews are tough, they're designed to be tough, the companies want to find the best candidates and you want the best job, and there's also lots of candidates going for that job, so the competition is quite high. But what you need to remember is that, you know, every day that you interview is another day closer to you landing a job. So it's almost like, think of it like a ladder, you know, you just have to keep climbing this thing and eventually you get to the top. You know, this brings me on to my next point of staying healthy throughout the interview process. Is very taxing on not only your mental but your physical health. So, you know, you get tired, you put a lot of effort and emotion into kind of applying for roles and getting to that process that, you know, once you kind of finish an interview, sometimes you feel like you just need to sleep for hours because the stress that you've built up, you know, just all relieves at once, and it can become draining. So definitely prioritize sleep in the entire process. You know, make sure you're getting a 7 to 8 hours or whatever you need to get a day. Also, definitely keep healthy, keep active. You know, there's countless studies that say, you know, exercising leads to better health all round. So definitely keep that in. It could be as little as a walk, you know, a half an hour walk somewhere just round your block or wherever you need to go, or a gym if you've got it, or a bike or somewhere. Just, you know, anything that you can do to keep yourself physically active, you know, helps you out. Also eating the right foods as well, getting a good balanced diet. That, think of yourself like a machine, you know, if you put bad stuff in, bad stuff comes out. If you put good stuff in, you know, your body just uses all the calories to its best of its ability and can function all the muscles at the most optimal and put your brain in the most optimal gear. So definitely think about, you know, good food eating. Don't be eating junk food, be eating fruit, veg, all the good proteins, carbs, fats, everything. Also, you have to definitely, you know, give yourself time. Don't constantly focus on interviewing. I know the idea is that, you know, every minute counts and I should be practicing interviews, but you do need to switch off and unwind, you know, detach yourself from the process, do something different, play a video game if that's the case. I found weirdly reading books helped me. I've never really been that much of a bookworm, but recently during the interview process that I went through, I found reading books really helped me unwind. It's nice because it kind of, you know, you have to take that kind of slow pace back. You're switched off from social media, you're switched off from the world, and you're just reading your book. And also you can kind of do a weird thing where, you know, I read a lot of coding or technology books, not necessarily about coding interviews, but just general subjects. So I kind of got two birds with one stone, you know. I used it as a way to unwind and switch off, and I also was developing myself and, you know, learning new things as I was doing it. So it worked out really good for me. I don't know, that might not appeal to you. You might just want to watch telly, but just an idea that I can share with you guys. And, you know, if you find that useful, that's obviously really good. Recommend that Grokking's Algorithms, you know, Crack the Coding Interview, Clean Coder, all those kind of books. I got links, I think, in the description and stuff. So definitely check them out. And some kind of like final thoughts that I just want to put on the whole process, you know, some things that I think are really good. Definitely wake up early, you know, reply to emails. Don't think that, you know, oh, I just get up late and don't do anything, you know, just, you know, get up early, reply to emails. In this recent job interview process, I actually found meditating really helped me. So I did 10 to 15 minutes of meditating. I used Headspace for that. Found that really kind of like clarified my thinking. It kind of, it's weird, when I was meditating, I would sit there and then kind of just out of the blue, I would just have an idea, or I would just think about an algorithm differently, and I'd be like, oh wow, you know. And I've never really done it before, but I did it for kind of nearly 2 months straight, and I found it really helped me. So I would recommend that to you guys. Yeah, again, eat lots of foods and veg, be healthy, be active, go on lots of walks, and, you know, try and find something you can do to unwind. For me, that was reading books, but for you, it might be something different. Oh yeah, one more thing that I found was really good was peppermint tea. So I drink a coffee in the morning when I was kind of revising for interviews, and peppermint tea after 2 o'clock, because if I drink caffeine after 2, I just basically can't sleep. So peppermint tea was my go-to drink anytime after 2 o'clock. I got that off of Ali Abdal's videos. He's another YouTuber that's like productivity tips and stuff. So yeah, peppermint tea is very, very good. So there it is. There's some interview tips for you during the interview process, and you know, what to do at each stage of that interview. I do hope these helped you, and you could take at least something or one thing away from this interview. And just always remember that, you know, every day is a day closer to being employed. So, you know, keep that, you know, positive attitude towards it, and everything should ideally fall into place, I say. Please, 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 please share tips and tricks in the comments below for other people that might be watching this video or also be going through the interview process. It's not a nice process for anyone to have to go through, you know, depending on your circumstances. If it's your first job, if you're changing job, or, you know, you've had something happen to your job and you've been fired or something and you need to get a new job, definitely share tips and tricks. You never know what someone's situation might be in, and when they're watching this video, and how it might help them. So please do share them below. I hope you will join me on my channel as I make more technology related videos. If you like this one, thumbs up please down below, or wherever it is. Yeah, subscribe if you want to see more videos related to kind of this kind of topic, not necessarily just career, but I also do some actual coding ones. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you land your next job, and have a great day.